Hello, welcome back. Yeah, another one I had to delete the recording because it didn't work first time. If the screen froze, I don't know if anyone's got any IT skills. Maybe they could tell me why the screen keeps freezing every time I use Screen Pal software. But yeah, I was just quickly looking at Arian Tari from the European Club Cup playing against Joe. So this is a Norwegian team playing against Jonah Willow, who represents Wood Green, I believe. And yeah, my analysis, I blundered here, and I was thinking, instead of castling, what about this move? But that runs into bishop b5. So the computer was saying that b6 might have been the best. I think sometimes people rush the castle, right? What is white threatening? White is not threatening an attack on the black king on e8 yet. So I can use that logic to play a move like bishop b7. And so a critical line would be something like king h1, bishop b7, f4. Maybe something like f5 then is playable, right? Like, I mean, lots of things that white could do. Could go bishop d2, could bring the queen to g4 or to f3. I don't know how many moves, maybe even rook e1 is a move, and then bishop e3. Let's say I went king h1, then you go here, and if I go here, you go f5. And now I can't take. So I'm going to exchange, but maybe that's not a great exchange when I take on e4. But more importantly, I'm going to castle next move and claim that I'm fine. And sometimes black could even castle queenside. Think about that as well. Queen h5, g6, queen h6 is another line. I mean, you could legitimately castle as well, actually, here, because f5 is now running into either ef5 or even knight f5. So f5 is not really a threat, so white would have to come up with some other idea. So interesting position. Instead, yeah, white was able to play this move e5. a5. It's interesting that he just allowed this. He didn't bother to take on passant. He just went a5, and then he came up with a creative attacking idea, rook a4. So he kind of frightened black into playing this move d4. Wow. Yeah, it all got very concrete. Right, so Jonah played d4, rook c4 was played, threatening knight e4. So I guess you kind of felt like you had to take, and then b4 was played. Okay, yeah, so this is the current position, right? Okay, so after I was considering whether white could play rook h4 there, but he played bishop e3, queen c7 was played. Now a move like rook h4 is also possible, right? I was wondering why you couldn't just... I mean, to be honest with you, I thought rook h4 was actually stronger than bishop e3, but maybe that's because I'm just a crude attacking player and I've got no subtlety. Now, my idea is if you take, I'm just going to go here and then take back and then threaten, check and take and claim that I'm doing very well, but it might not be as great as I thought. Maybe even a move like this is possible. Like check, just allow this here. Oh no, hang on, bishop g5, right? Bishop g5, and I take on f7, it's going to be checkmate. So what happens in the event of rook h4? Because if here, I was wondering if you could even just take... Ah, no, knight h4 threatens mate, right, yeah. But you can still take back. And now you've got lots of threats, right? So was that actually winning? Was rook h4 better than... Yeah, it was just winning on the spot, right? Wow. But it said he went bishop e3, which is like a terrible move. This guy's like 2630, right? Why am I not 2630? Come on, man. This is crazy. Yeah, why not rook h4 is so obvious. Like, I mean, you at least calculate it. I mean, it'd be funny if Magnus played white here, we'd probably play rook h4 like, without even thinking, yeah. So maybe that's the difference, you know, like someone like Magnus is just going to put this away, whereas Ari is struggling with bishop e3, he's still probably going to win anyway, right? He's probably going to win anyway, but now it becomes a much more positional game. I mean, I would feel uncomfortable here as white, because suddenly you're having to, you know, especially if you start thinking backwards and you start realising, actually, I should have gone rook h4. I mean, thing is, I'm kind of an impatient player, so I'm like, I don't really want to continue games. You know, I don't like long games. I'm always looking for the quick knockout. So I would definitely put everything into rook h4 and try and make it work. It's possible he just stopped after knight h4 and just thought, oh, well, that isn't winning. But the queen h4, I just thought, yeah, that must be winning, right? So that's poor technique by white. I'm surprised, but he may well go on to win anyway. He's a better player. In this particular position, Ravi is in trouble against Magnus Carlsen. He is clearly worse. Magnus is like a chess robot. He just knows what to do in every particular position. And a lot of it is based around almost kind of like a Russian school of chess, like understanding prophylactic play very well. And understanding how, you know, he's very good at shutting down his opponent's play and getting his own play at the same time, which is like the Mark Dvoretsky prophylaxis that was taught. So black's gone queen h4. The computer was calling for g6, so clearly there's something wrong. Now, the very clear idea is that you can't go rook f3 because that would allow the capture on e1. So what can black play in this particular position? I mean, white plays, sorry. You could simply move the rook, right? Either to c1. I'll be very tempted with rook d1 here, actually, because it renews the threat of rook f3. I think rook d1 just looks very strong for white. This is maybe though, I mean, this is also a possibility. Rook d1, rook c1, sorry. Rook d1. Hang on, have we heard any more moves? He's actually gone rook c1, yeah. I thought he was going to move the rook. I wasn't sure, but he very, very quickly played. He's got 40 minutes on the clock, and he's so fast as well. Like, he just plays like rook c1 almost immediately. I mean, how intimidating is that? And now you've got this really tough position. I'll be like sitting there, I'll be like, come on, man. Give me a chance here, you know. You got like 40 minutes, I've got like 6 minutes. Give me a chance. I predict Ravi will play something like knight e7, but knight e7 feels like it might run into simply queen a7, right? Just trying to harvest pawns. E6 is very weak. The problem is the structure favours white. So in the French, if you can't undermine the white centre, like here, white would have a space advantage, have an advantage for most of the game, and the computers will say +1, +1.5. So you need, this is why the French has kind of gone out of fashion a little bit at the top level, because you need to play very accurately to get. So he's gone queen e7. Let's stop babbling. That's a decent move. He very quickly played it. Ravi's a good player. You know, we were debating whether he should have been picked or Fernandez, but I don't really think there's much in it, right? It's not like Fernandez is 27-30 or something. You know, they're more or less the same strength. But yeah, I mean, there is an argument, I think, for possibly making some of the boards in the Olympiad team or European team championships make it a qualification process. But on the other hand, you could end up with a situation where you have like weaker players, and if you just pick them straight up. But I think the problem is people like Ravi are going to struggle to get in the team in the future, because Gawain will get back in the team, and so yeah, he's going to struggle to get picked, I think. Because if Gawain comes back, obviously Gawain's had the issue with his wife passing away, very sad news, but you would assume he'd come back at some point in the future. Then you're going to have 5 players. There's only 5 players in the team. You're going to have 5 players over 2600, right? So that makes it very difficult for people like Ravi, Ami, Daniel Fernandez to get in the team, Marcus Harvey, players like that, you know, Wadsworth, Harry Grieve, Jonah, who could conceivably think about trying to get that place. But yeah, Queen E7 is a solid move. So White has a decision to make. Good move, I think, by Ravi. Do you go for the kingside attack? But actually, can you go Queen H3 here? But Queen H3... Whatever Magnus plays, it'd be like, oh, it's so obvious. Why didn't I play that? The Same makes chess look easy, right? But it's not easy. There's Queen B6 here, but that just feels too, yeah. A lot of it's been highly trained and just understanding positional play very, very well, I think. You know, he's like Mark Adams on steroids. You know, Mark Adams on HGH or something. Actually, Adams is quite a talented park runner, apparently. He does very good park run times. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to keep fit. You know, I was actually reading about heavyweight boxing. There's this fight coming up, Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, who's got a what's the kickboxing martial arts thing? What's it called again? MMA. Yeah, Queen H3. I was calculating this, but I thought G5 was a good response. But after G5, maybe White will just take on G5, and if Knight E5, you trade the rook. Because I think you can't go H6 because the Queen D3 is probably going to be very strong. So I think you have to punt G5. But G5, I think you just go FG, right? This is his idea. And then somehow that's good. Yeah, MMA. And Francis Ngannou, who I believe is probably Nigerian background. I'm not sure where he lives. Is he American or something? Or where he actually lives these days? Or he's English? I'm not sure, but he's got an MMA background, heavyweight, right? And he's fought very well in the MMA. So now H6, so now Queen D3 is possible. Queen D3, Rook F5, and Knight G3. Does Knight B4 only move to avoid losing material? However, it feels like a very... Can't you just... No, you can take on F5, right? So this doesn't work. So Queen D3 is winning. It's a bit of a limp finish for Ravi. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's... At least try G5, because Queen D3 is so obvious, right? I mean, I don't really understand what he's playing at here. Knight, Queen D3, Rook F5, Knight G3. At least go down fighting, right? But anyway, go back to what I was boring you to death with. Yeah, Francis Ngannou. He's like this ferocious fighter, fights in MMA, really muscular guy. People say he's on roids and all this kind of stuff. He was a fouled boxer, so often the route for fouled boxers is to get into MMA because they can't make it in the boxing world. He was a fouled amateur boxer apparently, so he became very successful in the MMA world, and now he's moving into boxing, and he's got a fight coming up with Tyson Fury. But he might have been a foul boxer, but he's obviously incredibly strong and incredibly powerful. Therefore, if he hits Tyson Fury with you know, if he connects with him, he could send him down. He could be a knockout. On the other hand, will he be able to connect? Against somebody as experienced as Tyson Fury, he probably won't be able to. But I find it quite fascinating. I think heavyweight boxing has transformed a lot in recent years. You're getting these monstrous behemoths now, like 6'7", and you know Fury's like, what was Fury, like 6'9" or something like that, 6'8". Whereas you know you go back in the day, I think Mike Tyson about 5'11", 6 foot, right? I think he's 5'11", 5'10". I can't remember. He's taller than me, but like I'm 5'9.5", but I think he's taller than me, right? I wonder who would win the world boxing heavyweight. I know there's a lot of chess boxers. It's like this guy G4. What was wrong with Queen D3? Sorry, what am I missing? Oh, Queen D3 G5. I'm a muppet. Sorry, Ravi, I take it back. But Magnus Tyson has played g4. Yeah, very, very nice move actually, because the plan is simply to go crudely play g5. And that's a good move. He's going to open up some lines on the king's side. You can't play g5 yourself because h6 is hanging. Can you play this? And then maybe g5 anyway. I mean, it's g6. This doesn't look good, right? h4 you have to play. It's very suspicious. h4, maybe even f5 is possible. f5 does queen g5, but h4, queen g4, I think. It's playable, right? It's just good. Queen h5. Yeah, so I think, yeah, heavyweight boxing has changed a lot in recent years. Oh, there's this Enigma guy, Ray Enigma, who's quite good. I think there's also a guy called Carl something, who's a chess boxer. Yeah. Chess boxing. Who would be like the best? I don't really care, but yeah, as far as normal boxing is concerned, yeah, it's a very violent sport. Actually, I saw one the other day on Twitter. It was horrific. There was this guy who was fighting. I think he was like a Latino fighter. He was fighting a black guy in America, and a Latino guy. They were showing on Twitter, and the Latino guy was like this, and he was like, he looked really healthy and young, and he was flirting with this kind of ringside girl before the fight. And then in the fight itself, the guy he was fighting with, I think his name was William something, kept punching him on the back of the head, like Ray Williams or something like this. I can't remember, but I read it on Twitter. He kept punching him on the back of the head. You're not, it's illegal, but the referee should have stopped the fight, or should have like disqualified that fighter. But he kept punching him on the back of the head. And then in that situation, you know, it's why it's illegal, because the back of your head is kind of more vulnerable than the front, which is like the skull, which is tougher. And yeah, he ended up in a coma after the fight, so he kind of felt a bit dizzy after the fight, and then he ended up in a coma. So I think he lost the fight, and then he ended up in a coma, and then or something like this, like bleed on the brain, and he survived, but he had like brain damage. So it's a horrific sport. I would ban boxing, to be honest. I think it's a horrific. And I'd ban MMA. MMA is even worse. The way that you get somebody down and then you're punching them when they're on the floor is horrific to me. You know, it's just wrong, right? Anyway, let's go back to the games. Wadsworth Sadwani. Yeah, I think Wadsworth is in trouble. So I left it around about when he went Queen E4. And I wonder why black couldn't just go here. What was the engine saying about that move? Yeah, it says very strong. I thought here, you could just go here. Ah, but there's a trick here. Right. Ah, bishop e3, of course. Maybe this is what Wadsworth is playing for, right? But after here, you can simply come back. And you've got a good position anyway. Well, black went knight b6, which is also a good move. But actually c5 is a blooper. Apparently you're supposed to go g4. It reminds me of this impossible quiz where you know, it's actually, these kind of positions kind of fascinate me because, yeah, a position where there's only one move. And I was doing an impossible quiz for my book and basically testing title players on really, really tough positions. And the engine was saying you've got to do this or whatever, but sometimes it'd be like an only move. And this is a good example, and a very tough example, practically over the board, where you're worse, and you've got to survive. And the only way to survive it is to play like, you know, your position already looks a bit shaky, and the only way to survive is to start attacking on the king side, which is crazy, right? Well, you're probably still losing, but it's the best practical chance. Like something like this. I think that's why I find chess a fascinating game, because it is like, yeah, rook f5 and then actually rook c1, and you're not doing too badly. It's still not great, but yeah, it's so hard to see these moves like G4. I mean, who the hell's going to play G4? I don't think anyone would play G4 over the board. Like maybe even Magnus would find G4, right? But C5 was just a terrible move because Queen 8 and Knight A4, and then it's collapsing. Okay, yeah, this is just lost because Knight G3 is starting to become a threat. Yeah, so Matthew's going to lose. He's playing against this Sadwani guy who is incredibly talented and one of these, generation of Indian players who are going to dominate chess over the next 5 to 10 years. Pragananda, Gukesh, Nilhar Sarin. I think they're going to win, multiple titles in Rapid and Blitz. Could even knock the great Magnus off his pedestal. I mean, he's the obstacle, right? If they want to get to the very, very top, he's the guy they have to beat. Which makes it a fascinating kind of, because he's like the goat of chess, and then he's fighting against these Indian super kids who are, going to take, but they're going to take over eventually because they're a lot younger than him. So no matter how much he fights against them, if they have to wait till he's 60 and they're like, 40 or whatever, then, that's what it'll come to. But I don't think it'll come to that. But I think he's the only one who could probably stop them. Or possibly, because also it's a massive advantage the fact they all work together, right? You got Fallujah as an incredible player. You got players even younger than that who we probably haven't heard of yet, who might have been just playing the World Junior, or lots of like 9 and 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds who are like incredible players. It's become a different game now, and a lot of it's just about playing loads of games online and just becoming good that way, and letting your talent shine basically, and just playing. But yeah, I mean, who do you think, in the comments below, who do you think is the most likely next world number 1? I would say it's probably between Gukesh, Fallujah and Pragananda. It's not really going out on a limb there. There's also people like Vincent Keimer, who's won already, by the way. Vincent Keimer's won already against Roland Prusias. Let's look at the game. Should we try and predict the moves, actually? I won't go on notation. I'm going to try and predict Vincent Keimer's moves. E3, correct. Take on D4, correct. A3, no, rook E1, incorrect. Knight E5 is a move? No, not A3, right. I think this is actually all theory. I'll still get the moves wrong. Knight C2. No, incorrect. This is why I'm not 2700, right? Rook E2. Yeah, it feels a bit obscure there. Go Bishop B4 back to F8. So now Knight C2 feels like, or even Knight E5. Knight B5, very aggressive. Bishop C7, correct. Knight E5. Correct. I would probably take with a bishop. Correct. Now I'm considering a move like rook somewhere. Rook E1 or something like that. Rook E1 looks possible. Just running the bishop back to B4. Because bishop D4, his idea is to go A6. So I think you move the rook on E2 somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly where. Maybe even rook E4 is possible. Rook E4 is probably quite a good move. No, Knight C7. Ah, okay, winning the exchange, right? So what I think you probably should have taken E5. And then he resigned. Well, that's pretty poor, really. So he didn't really need to do anything special there to win the game, yeah? Vincent. His opponent looked a little bit intimidated. I did lose to that Roland Prusias a few years ago, but yeah, it's a different ball game taking on these 2700 super prepped guys. So Magnus against Ravi. Oh yeah, so we got the eval bar on. I mean, we can get rid of the eval bar. But in any case, it's clear that white is winning. Yeah, he can just take and take. It's very tough when you play these guys, and Ravi hasn't played much chess. I don't think it really matters if he'd been playing 24/7. He's still going to be a big underdog against Magnus, right? He's just like a beast. He just seems to know what to do in every possible position. He's like the goat of chess, you know. Another question, yeah, is Magnus the greatest player of all time? I would argue that he is, actually. I think the previous greatest of all time was probably Kasparov. But I think Magnus has taken that mantle. Will someone like a Gukesh or a Pragananda take over from him and maybe become like the GOAT of chess themselves? It's entirely possible. We could get somebody in 5 or 10 years' time who's just like unbelievably good, like a Michael Jordan of chess, who's just like some super kid. He's like a Mozart or something. It just makes Magnus look like a patzer. I don't know, I'll talk a load of rubbish, do I? Right, let's carry on. So Ari Taran, yeah, he's made a bit of a meal out of this, but I think he's probably going to win the game, right? He's now winning a pawn. What happened there? Because I mean, here, yeah, the problem is you can't really move that bishop because you need that bishop. You kind of feel like, yeah, it's a difficult position. Why not bishop b5 though, right? No, it doesn't like that. What's the best move here? Rook d8. But c6 was a star move, actually. Okay. Let's check out the Black Fawn team and see how they're doing. Or how about Nilhal Sarin? He's winning already. Right. Yeah, he's winning. Oh, he's playing at 25.72. So let's see how the game went. Yeah, he's another one who could. I mean, he's going to be like way over 2,700 in the future, I would say. Yeah, in this particular position, I don't think bishop d3 is the main line, but it's obviously playable. There's other moves here. I think you can play queen e2, for example. If you take on c3, maybe rook d1 is playable. No, maybe not. Yeah, black's idea looks a bit obscure, but the idea is if you take on c5, I'm going to take here and then rupture the pawn structure. Because obviously I would not want to allow b4 and then... So, yeah, so 94, that feels like a decent move. But maybe there's better here. Maybe you should... Yeah, the evaluation seemed to drop after that move. Maybe b4 is better. Yeah, b4 is a better move. Wow. I'm murdering it today. So I've seen this idea actually. If you go here, I'm going to take here. No, I'm not going to take here. I'm changed my mind. What is the idea of? Maybe you just take. No, it's not that. Bishop b2. No, it's not that. Take. No, so what is the move here? Maybe the eval just changes when. Oh, b5. Yeah, right. So that was So I saw b4, but I didn't. Only because the eval dropped after. Yeah, but I didn't see that b5 was the move, and then d4 undermining d4, very key point. So now maybe you can take out the knight on d4, and then if black wants to say knight a5, you could even also take out the pawn. It seems fairly reasonable. Then you got control over the centre. Yeah, b5 looks very good there. But he took, and now white doesn't have anything, but he's not worse. Maybe knight c5 here, right? Or bishop b1. Bishop b1 I would play. Yeah, knight c5 fine, yeah. Again, maybe b4, gaining space, or rook b1, or bishop b1. Bishop b1 seems fine. Queen d3, yeah, a little bit transparent, but fine. I would play b4 now, so that you've got rook e1, and then that's what he's done. Now rook e1. Yeah, I hate that move. That's interesting. Hates it. Maybe there's a tactical reason why that's bad. Or maybe black just takes on e3 or something. No, I'm not getting it. Maybe bishop a2 is better, but I mean, yeah, it's kind of obscure as to why rook e1 is bad. It looks like a decent move. Maybe black goes bishop h5. With the idea of taking on f3 and taking on d4. But then b5. Yeah. No, b5, knight d4. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe rook e1, black goes bishop h5. Maybe this is the point. Yeah, that's what he did. So maybe the best move is actually to go like something like bishop a2 to avoid this idea. And then exchange on d5. That doesn't look very convincing. Let's cheat again. g4 is the best move. What? It's funny how the computer loves these weakening poor moves. Like we saw actually in the Wadsworth game, the best move was g4, right? That's crazy. I mean, I just wouldn't even. Well, no, g4 is a very crude move, right? But it's actually a good move. But it kind of makes sense, right? Because you kind of, yeah, you want to go for the attack. You've got this set up. Like g4 and then... Yeah, because if you do something like this... Now I do this. Very obscure. It's hard to play. Yeah, I can understand why it's going wrong here, to be honest. I sympathise. Normally I don't sympathise with these players. I say they're patzers. Why have they got higher ratings than me? It's a disgrace. I'm like way better than them. It's embarrassing that I'm like lower rated than this patzer, Paulius. You know, God, what a patzer. But actually, yeah, the evaluation changing now. It starts to prefer black. But here I kind of agree. I mean, rook e1, bishop h5 is kind of obscure, but really good for black. Yeah, because the problem is d4 is becoming undermined. You don't have a natural... If you go knight e5, then I take, and then the queen is on the wrong file for the rook. And if I go bishop d2, you take on f3 and you take on d4. And you're just doing well. And there's no queen f5 there, but because I could just go... Well, no, queen f5, knight f5 is ridiculous. But anyway, the knight... Well, the point is I was trying to make is the knight on d5 defends a queen on e7. I mean, I might try something like that, right? Because at least then I get the bishop pair. Yeah, something like this I was thinking, right? It's not great, but, you know, you got the bishop pair, you got some chances, but he played... Oh, no, he did do that, right? Oh, he took with a pawn. Yeah, I don't like that. It looks weird. Yeah, this Neil Sarin is another massive natural talent. I wouldn't quite put him in the same class as like Pragananda Gukesh at classical chess. Like, he doesn't seem to be quite as good at, but like Blitz is unbelievable. You know, he'll definitely win like World Rapid and Blitz championships in the future. No question. Rook b1 is a bit weird. But actually black has made a little bit of a meal out of it, but possibly still winning. Interesting. Yeah, I'll put these as a test on Facebook later. So where's my team? Maybe they're too low. We're too weak. We're not getting featured. I can't see my weaky team. Oh, actually, now the evaluation's dipped right. Wow. So Neil Sarin has gone badly wrong because he was totally winning earlier. Around about this point, right? He should have. He should have had to. B5 is actually a nuance. B5 looks natural, but Neil Sarin has 34 minutes left. at this point in the game, right? And that's just to get to time control. Then probably gets more time, right? Plus increment. Now, this is a problem with fast players, is sometimes they're too fast. They can't slow down, right? And they see variations of like boom, 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 right? And you know, but also they got this compulsion to make moves. You know, I think Botvinnik talked about this about Taimanov. That Mark Taimanov, who was a very famous Russian Soviet player who ended up losing 6-0 to Bobby Fischer. Yeah, so Bobby Fischer kind of had his number, right? Because Bobby Fischer was like a fast player, but he was like a much better version than a Taimanov. So yeah, when you got like, it's a bit like what I was reading the other day, and it was saying like a dynamic player in this book by Jan Marcos and Navarra. And Navarra was saying if there's two dynamic players playing each other, then it's often that one of the weaker of the two dynamic players will suffer. So he was saying he had a poor record against people like Levon Aronian, who's obviously a very good dynamic player and probably a slightly stronger version than Navarra, for example. He had like a bad record against him. You know, if you look at, say, for example, Shirov had a very bad record against Kasparov. Gelfand, who would also, maybe I would call, he's more like rounded, right? He's kind of positional, but also dynamic. But certainly Shirov is a good example of a guy. But I think also you have to take in mind that just Kasparov was just incredibly strong, right? So that's also, but yeah, if you're a good dynamic player and you're slightly better than another player who's a dynamic player, you could have a very, very good, massive plus score against them because I think also you understand how they're playing. Like I tended to do quite well against Gawain Jones. I didn't do as well against David Howe, for example. I did quite well against Simon, who was also a very dynamic player. Although my score got worse in recent years. Because I kind of understood their chess. So to play someone like David or, you know, someone like that, I didn't really understand their chess, right? I didn't really understand what he was doing. He never really gave me any play, but he'd shut me down. He's obviously a very strong player at this point, so you can kind of... So it's probably a bad example because he's quite a lot stronger. But yeah, the point that Navarro was making was that if you've got two players who are positional, then the score might not be that massive. Say you got some Ulf Anderson versus, I don't know, Ribley or something like that. Like two position players. I don't know if Ribley, maybe Portish is a better example, right? Maybe one player's got like a slight plus score because a lot of the games are then in draws because they're kind of positional, but it's dynamic, it's going to be cutthroat, it's going to be sharp. But yeah, I think I went off on a tangent again, but what I was saying was that yeah, that was quite a bad move, and actually White ended up getting A4 in. Black didn't activate the king, that was the whole point, yeah, and really like here, you should just bring the king. I think that's what Magnus would do. We're talking about how does Magnus play chess. Well, obviously you can't play A3, right, so you've got to play these passive moves, like king E1. And maybe now I go, so, yeah, but it kind of changes, right, like king here. No, not that move. Like rook A2 and then A4 and then B5. So it's actually kind of tricky, right? But the current position is just apparently just a draw, yeah? So Nilhar Sarin's let it slip. Maybe this is why he's not going to get to this sort of like 27-70, like these people like Prag and Gukesh are destined to get to. I think he might do eventually, but at the moment he's struggling. So if we go back to the top match, Magnus has won, yeah. Wadsworth has lost, unsurprisingly, I guess, from the positions they had. Yeah, this is just winning for Ari Taran now. Borna. Borna's better against Pranav, who's also an Indian player. So Borna Dereshkavini, who's originally, I believe, from Iran, his sister plays as well. His sister's a very good player as well. He's quite a decent player. I've found him tough to beat in the past. I don't think I've ever beaten him in a classical game. We've only played twice, but I think I've beaten him in Blitz online. That's about it. But he's beaten me as well, so you know. Pranav. Yeah, he's basically got to come up with something here. But White's advantage is not so much that it's guaranteed that he's going to get over the line, right? We've also got Connor O'Donnell. This feels like quite a boring position. However, it should objectively be a draw, right? But that's, again, a good result. Like, if he holds this, he's playing against a GM who's 2,500. Not, again, a player I'm not that familiar with. But, yeah, he's looking good to hold this, Connor O'Donnell. There's also Gorman. I get confused. There's also a Tom O'Gorman or something. So I'm slightly concerned that he might become really strong because, you know, one thing I could cling to was that I was the best Gorm. And if I'm no longer even the best Gorm, then why am I even playing chess? I've got to be the best Gorm, right? But yeah, this position is kind of boring, but I guess White would try. I mean, he's high rated. You know, and he could claim that, well, he's got... But even if you, like, let's say you remove the queen side, you get rid of the pawns on A6, B6, A2, is that position winning? I'm not sure it is, but obviously, like, huge suffering, right? But if you then swap off the queens, it's then a theoretical draw. Rook and 4 versus Rook and 3 is supposed to be a theoretical draw. And Black's also got the pawn A5, which means that if White goes G4, trying to go to space, you exchange it off. But yeah, this particular position, Black can't easily make a draw here. But it feels like if he just... Yeah, he's another good player, this Connor O'Donnell. I think he's friends with Ravi, actually. Another player I'm not really that familiar with, but yeah, good player. But yeah, Ravi, that would have been an interesting experience playing against a great Magnus. I wonder whether he gave him a post-mortem. Maybe like pay him to play it. That's the whole point of having a full-time job, so you can pay Magnus for post-mortem. But yeah, Ravi, you got to that point, yeah, Ravi, he probably realised that with chess, it's just like, yeah, it's pointless, yeah. I saw some comment on the forum earlier, someone was saying, oh, Gormali is like embittered about how the fact he can't make any money out of chess. You know, even though he's been a top 10 player and all this in the country, well, it's probably true in a way that I'm slightly embittered about the whole thing. But yeah, but you reap what you sow in life. At the end of the day, I kind of regret not getting like a normal career in a sense, you know. But then again, I wouldn't have had the experiences I had. You know, if you end up working in an office, if I'd have just gotten like a normal 9-to-5 job, I might have felt unfulfilled. The grass is always greener, right? I might have felt unfulfilled. I might have wondered what it'd been like if I'd have become a professional chess player. I might have been jealous of all the professional chess players. But yeah, it's got to a point now where my earnings are so low now that I'm like, I'm not getting any video work. I've got very little coaching that I'm doing. I'm not, you know, I've done the books, I've done all that route. I've not made a huge amount of money out of it. It's getting to the point now where I need to get another career because I can't carry on like this, like living off peanuts, living off fumes for the rest of my life. Get a purpose in life, you know. Even if I might only live for 5 or 10 years, you don't know. I might get hit with some kind of disease when I'm in my 50s. I kind of feel that could happen, but at least get on the right track. I think a lot of life is about doing the right thing, right? You know. And if you do the right thing, you may not reap the benefits. You might be unlucky anyway, but, you know, you might just get lucky. You might luck out. But, yeah, at the moment, I'm kind of suffering lack of money. And, yeah. So I think Ravi made the right decision not to become a professional chess player. It's also not a suitable lifestyle for a lot of people, just sitting around all day, you're doing nothing. You know, people like Magnus. Magnus is a great player. Don't get me wrong, but he's also a chess bum. Effectively, that's all he does is sit around all day, wait for the next chess tournament to start. You know, I mean, it might sound harsh, but it's true. But he does it. You know, he does it better than anyone else. So he's a great player, but he's also a bum. You know. So anyway, yeah, that's my embittered rant for the day. I'll be back tomorrow. For another embittered rant, but I noticed actually that when I played Banter Blitz, I got a lot more viewers than when I did the commentary. I mean, the problem is like everybody does commentaries, like David Howell and Fiona doing it. So it's not like I'm the only person doing commentary. There's probably loads of other people doing commentary on the European. It's not like I'm the only person doing commentary on the European Club Cup, but. Anyway, Magnus Carlsen is a chess bum. That's the thing I've concluded from today. Ravi Haria's got a career. Ravi Haria's got a career. That rhymes, doesn't it? Magnus Carlsen is a chess bum. Ravi Haria's got a career.